Hi, this is Dr. Pachenik, and let me get straight to the facts. The Notre Dame fire was a false flag. Most of you know by now what a false flag is. We've had one at 9/11. We've had all kinds of false flags under Obama. The key issue is, why did he create a false flag, and who is he? From the very beginning, I said that Macron is a spoiled, entitled child born to two doctors, and one is a neurologist, the other one's a general practitioner internist. That's quite an important profession in France. It's much tougher to be a physician in France than it is in the United States. I know my father was trained in France. But more importantly, this was a young man who avoided the draft consciously. Does this remind you of anybody else who did a false flag? Yeah, Bush. This comes from a wealthy family. He's spoiled. He avoided the draft. He's entitled. He's narcissistic. And guess what? He lies like a banshee. He's a sociopath. He was trained by the Rothschild family and became a multimillionaire without any profession or any companies that he started. So we have a president who I told you from the very beginning is inept. And what happened? Well, lo and behold, there were yellow vest riots all over because he didn't know how to manage the economy. And secondly, he increased taxes on fuels. Most people complain about it. Already they pay 56% of the taxes, of their income to taxes. And by the way, his popularity was 24% before the fire. And guess what? It was 24% after the fire. So this is a man who created a fire. Why do I say he created a fire? Because number one, I had property right next to Notre Dame. Number two, I've been in Notre Dame and they're totally discombobulated when they're running a service. Their kids running in and out, and they're gypsies, and the police would not let me stop them. Thirdly, this was a propitious fire. Just before Easter Sunday, you had a Catholic church go on fire. This is an 800-year-old symbol of Christianity in a country which lost its Christianity during World War I, II, and its assassination, slaughter of the Hutus, the Tutsis. So we have here a country miscreants. And in turn, he could not manage them. So you had riots, you had anti-Muslim feelings, you had high anti-Semitism, and in short, you had an economy that wasn't functioning. What do? You create a false flag, just like Bush did. In order to go to war or unify a country, you create a false flag. In this case, lo and behold, a day before the fire occurred, and by the way, it took 23 minutes before the first responders came to the fire. And I've lived next to Notre Dame, and believe me, if you see smoke and fire, you respond very quickly. But remember, it took 23 minutes before the first responder. And then what was happening? A day before the fire, 12 of the major apostles that were in the church, as well as important window coverings and rose-colored glass windows, were taken away from the church by miracle. The New York Times called it a miracle, by a company called Sacra, SACRA, which is a division of a major company which you have no coordinates for, located in what we call the Dordogne. So the day before, you travel 6 to 8 hours with these statues that are the most valuable statues of the church, and somehow it's a miracle that they weren't ablaze. So in fact, what we have here is a false flag created by what we call in French la piscine, the swimming pool, which is an affectionate name for the Deuxième Bureau, or the Second Bureau, or what we call the Intelligence Corps of France. So they worked alongside of Macron, and guess who else they worked alongside? They worked alongside my own colleagues in military intelligence and in the CIA. How do I know? Because I got an email, unsolicited, from one of my colleagues who said, you know, my condolences on the fact that the church is burning, and I couldn't care less. Let me give you a famous quote. Maurice Talleyrand of Périgueux, the famous foreign minister, said the following: to be the grand manipulator, you have to be very efficient in manipulation, denial, distortion, and creating of crises. The one person who wasn't was Macron. Good luck and good night.